Hello, everyone. With an ever-expanding and modernizing fleet of aircraft carriers and submarines, we can surmise that China aspires to be like the United States. China wants to become a nation with global influence and, like the U.S., wishes to rapidly project military power across the world. Therefore, in addition to aircraft carriers and submarines, China also needs multiple military bases around the globe. Recently, there were widespread rumors about China potentially using Cambodia's military bases to deploy its military power. Now, there are ongoing reports that China is also building military bases in Cuba. Specifically, information from American newspapers indicates that, according to data from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, based in Washington, satellite images taken in March and April this year show 4 construction projects in Cuba. These include 3 new constructions at 3 locations near Havana, as well as another site near the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo Bay. According to CSIS's report, the most significant changes are happening at the Bajucal base. This was the site where, during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the Soviet Union placed its nuclear weapons. Now, it is believed to be used by China as a military base. Specifically, according to CSIS, this base has now become a major electronic intelligence center believed to monitor communications activities. Many modern electronic antenna stations and other equipment have appeared here. The Center for Strategic and International Studies suggests that these bases near Havana are becoming increasingly important as they could be used by China for espionage activities. Another base in El Salado is under construction, and this site is very close to the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo Bay. The scale of these developments is causing concern among experts in Washington. Preliminary reports indicate that these areas are being equipped with an array of antennas with diameters ranging from 130 to 200 meters. Analysts believe it can monitor signals as far as 15,000 kilometers away. The CSIS report states, without access to classified documents, it is almost impossible to determine the specific purpose of these facilities. This means that, although CSIS has confirmed through satellite images that many radars are being constructed at Cuban bases, they are not certain if these are used to gather information on the U.S. or for other purposes. However, if it is true that China is building bases in Cuba, we can infer that if they are not gathering information on the U.S., then who else could they be targeting? Analysts believe the enhancement of space surveillance equipment at locations like Bajucal and Calabazar is noteworthy. Cuba does not have its own space program. Without a space program, building space surveillance radar stations seems quite illogical. In fact, this is not the first time there have been rumors about China constructing military bases in Cuba. Exactly 1 year ago, around June 2023, American newspapers were consistently reporting on this issue. Specifically, the Wall Street Journal cited several U.S. officials claiming that China had reached a secret agreement with Cuba to establish an electronic eavesdropping facility on the island, approximately 160 kilometers from Florida. Establishing such a listening post would allow Beijing to collect electronic communications from the southeastern U.S., where many American military bases are located, as well as monitor ship movements. They also stated that the two countries had reached an agreement in principle, with China paying Cuba several $billions to allow the setup of the listening station. According to the Wall Street Journal, this agreement caused alarm within President Joe Biden's administration, posing a new threat near the U.S. coast. Interestingly, at that time, the main U.S. spokesperson denied the information from the press. The U.S. government stated, "We are not aware of China and Cuba developing any new type of spy station. We have seen the news report, and it is incorrect." Simultaneously, Cuba's deputy foreign minister also dismissed the information, calling it completely false and baseless, a fabrication by the U.S. to justify Washington's decades-long economic embargo on Cuba. He emphasized that Cuba has rejected any foreign military presence in Latin America and the Caribbean. Naturally, China also denied this. China said, We are not aware of the incident and therefore cannot comment at this time. So, is China really building a base in Cuba? Currently, we cannot be certain, even though the CSIS has affirmed that these centers are being built by China. However, with the publicly available information and satellite images, we can only tentatively confirm that Cuba is indeed constructing radar stations for monitoring information. As shown in the image, you can see this radar being constructed, believed to be intended for signal intelligence gathering, near a neighborhood called El Salado, East Santiago. The United States operates a base at Guantanamo Bay, about 50 miles east of the city. In the report, the center stated that they analyzed satellite data and concluded that this location is one of 4 signal intelligence facilities in Cuba. The report indicates that these sites might be the ones most likely to support China's efforts to spy on the United States. This structure appears to be a group of antennas known as a circularly disposed antenna array, or CDAA. CDAAs allow analysts to determine the origin and direction of high-frequency signals. They were commonly used for espionage during the Cold War. Once operational, the CDAA will serve as a powerful tool to enhance the capability of gathering information about airspace and maritime territories in the region, where U.S. and international military forces frequently operate. Due to Cuba's close proximity to the United States, China's intelligence-gathering activities in Cuba would open up a significant intelligence capability that is inaccessible from within China. The expansion of space surveillance equipment at Bajucal and Calabazar, even though Cuba has no satellites or space program of its own, indicates that this base has the potential to monitor U.S. satellites. In recent years, China has increased its presence in the Western Hemisphere and has engaged in several infrastructure projects, including ports and airports in Caribbean countries, which experts fear may be exploited for military and intelligence purposes. China has developed a strategic relationship with Cuba over many years. According to a study by the chairman of the Cuba Research and Advocacy Organization, China has forgiven a significant portion of Cuba's debt and has provided several loans to the Cuban government. In 2019, a Chinese state-backed company completed a project to modernize the port of Santiago with a $120 million loan from the Chinese government. Overall, we need more evidence to be certain about China building an intelligence base in Cuba. However, if this is true, Cuba will continue to face economic difficulties due to ongoing U.S. sanctions. At the same time, this also indicates that China is becoming increasingly powerful with the technologies they have developed recently. China is rising very quickly. In terms of quantity, Chinese naval ships have already surpassed those of the U.S. China has also produced modern missiles and launched military satellites to control space. Overall, it is very likely that one day China will catch up with the U.S. and perhaps even surpass it if the U.S. continues to get entangled in global troubles. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments and subscribe now to never miss a video, and let's learn together. See you again.